At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin hour number 2. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas here on a Thursday morning. Jensen Lewis, our closer, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Jensen, we're going to have Mike Palm join us this hour, so you know what that means. Palm's pressing 3. We do not collaborate. We don't know what he's going to ask you. As a former big league closer, I'm sure nothing scares you. Do questions from scribes, did they ever concern you in those clubhouses?
No, I wish the beat writers were given penalties for bad questions. Like you lose a day of access to the clubhouse. Like the rhetorical questions. Please don't ask this of me. You know, what did you feel right there? Okay, maybe early in the season, fine, but you know, what was that pitch? You have a monitor. You can see what happened. Don't ask me about that. So I wish we could hold some of the media accountable for the question and answer sessions. And if there are bad questions, they deserve to lose, you know, a day of access, and maybe they'll ask better questions moving forward.
It takes me back to the great Mike Ditka. You sat up there for 4 quarters. That's the best question you could. That's the best you could do. This is your IQ, buddy, right here. We're going to have Rachel Dory. She's going to join us in hour number 3. Evan Giddings is going to break down the Niners as we continue our NFL breakdown here. We'll get to the Cowboys and the Niners as this show goes. But hour number 2, it's time for our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
And with that, the Civil War begins. A cannon! I'm no historian, Jensen. I'm not sure if that's in fact. Scotty Scheffler kicking off the beginning of the RBC Heritage, which is going on here down south as we begin on this Thursday morning, literally with the bang. And he's doing it in the tartan jacket that he won last year. Look, the green jacket, I know we all love the green jacket. Can you make a case? And if you're listening out there, Sirius XM channel 158, what you missed was Scotty teeing off, ceremonial first tee, next to a live cannon blast. And I didn't see him flinch, and I saw his eyes still down the fairway. That man is locked in, even when a cannon is going off next to him.
I think that's probably the most important part. It's not the garb that he was in, although you did do a great play on words, the Startin jacket. Yes, well done. Golf clap for DR. That's so cool. You're right. It would. So here in Northeast Ohio, or at least in Central Ohio, obviously we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and when they would score a goal, they have a real cannon. They fire the cannon in the arena. So imagine indoors the cannon blast after the Blue Jackets score. You want to talk about being in the vicinity right there? Good luck, man. You're jumping up out of your seat, no question about it.
I absolutely do. The jacket's kind of warming up on me as the years go on. And Scotty, of course, won at Augusta this time last year, then went down. Everybody said, well, he's not going to be motivated to win the RBC Heritage Open. Oh, no. Scotty was, and then he won that too. In grand fashion, by the way, played really, really well to do that double dip, and that's why he is still the official honorary starter as the reigning defending champion. He also talked about being in the fight, both at Augusta, and made a very interesting comparison to maybe the adrenaline of winning, Jensen. I want you to take a listen and see if you can relate to Scotty.
It takes a lot out of you to win a golf tournament emotionally. And on Sunday, I was in the tournament. It takes a little bit out of you, but I think the adrenaline you get from actually winning the tournament is a lot different than getting close. You know, I'm sitting there in 18 fairway last week, and Rosie's was at 10 under. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going at this pin. You know, I'm going to try and hold this. And then he makes it, and you're like, okay, well, the tournament's over. I lost. And you're kind of sitting there, and I'm like, didn't win. Yeah, lost, whatever. And I just look at Teddy, and I'm like, all right, Teddy, well, I guess I'm going to aim at the middle of the green now. He's like, yeah, aim at the middle of the green. Let's get out of here kind of thing. And if I, like, for instance, if Rosie misses that putt and I hole it, huge adrenaline rush, and it takes something out of you, you know, kind of like the adrenaline rush you get from getting arrested. Like that takes something out of you.
Scotty with the self-effacing humor, because, again, people forget before the PGA, the second major he got arrested. We're in that Scotty almost 1 year anniversary of Scotty being arrested. I like that he's got some good humor about him, obviously, right? Like he's taking it all in stride. But you go back a year ago, was that not the most bizarre thing? You win at Augusta. You win at the Heritage. By the way, he's plus 360 is the going-away favorite to win it again and defend his crown. No Rory McIlroy in the field. And then before we get to the PGA Championship this time last year, he's got that bizarre incident of, you know, trying to get around a security officer, and he actually physically gets arrested and detained. Was that not the craziest stretch we can recall, and maybe in golf history?
It was incredible, first, that he came back, played the round, and played as well as he did. I think we were all enamored that, dear God, the guy was getting a mugshot, you know, just hours before, and he's coming out, he's sinking birdie putts. I really appreciated his candor in the interview about, hey, when it's done, it's done. Let's just get out of here.
Oh.
We've all been, for us, and I'll relate it from the baseball side, getaway days, you know, when you're down by 6 late, it's okay. We're ready to move on to the next city. You know, you're feeding a strike zone. You're just trying to get a guy to swing in the first 3 pitches. You're just trying to collect outs and get out of there. So I guess for him too, the money doesn't mean as much because he's made a boatload. I would think more so guys that know placement wise, it's a difference of $100,000, $250,000. There'd be some stress in the final round there because, as you know, we talked about it yesterday. Ludwig on the triple bogey on the last hole cost him $500,000. Unbelievable.
I do love the fact that was volunteered information that Scotty gave yesterday talking to the media. That was not asked of him. He just brought it up. So it's still there somewhere in the back of that brain of his of equating what it's like to win and that adrenaline rush from what happened this time last year. Like I mentioned, he is the big going away favorite here to win down there in South Carolina. The big Swede, I know that you like him this week, and maybe one other guy that hasn't won in a while on the PGA Tour. Give me your outrights, Jensen, that you have this week.
Yeah. Okay. So when I kind of went through, this card, you have obviously factoring in the hangover effects of guys that were in the fight for final round of the Masters. So Scotty, an easy one to be here because you kind of just saw how he was not happy with the way he played, is not happy with the way he finished. So that's an easy one. We mentioned the big Swede in Ludwig might be a little bit more of a risk play here considering how he finished. I think you and I align very much on Patrick Cantlay. I have him laddered pretty much all the way through this week in knowing that his six, I think he's finished 6 top 7s at Harbour Town. For a guy that's a course horse, there may not be he may be unmatched basically in his resume there. So top 10, top 5 outright at 18-1. I do like, and I know Matt Euman's probably listening like, come on, man, I'm going back to Colin Morikawa. I know I'm probably going to have pain with doing that, but that's fine. I do think that the top 5, because of his ball striking, is going to be in a position to be able to place quite well, and he may even have a great chance to win this. I guess my riskier ones are probably Aaron Rai in the top 5 at plus 650, Minwoo Lee top 10 at plus 330. When you think about Aaron Rai, the putting in the course history, something that stands out there. So a little risk reward upside play, I think, for Minwoo. He's had issues with the accuracy and obviously his inexperience there at Harbour Town. So the numbers just jumped out a little bit more at me for those riskier plays. But I do think you and I very much aligned that we feel it's, Patrick Cantlay, when you're not signing autographs for kids, you're focused on one thing, and that's winning a golf tournament.
Locked in. He's locked in, right? And I like to point out that maybe he didn't know the kid was 5. Maybe he's not good with ages. No, Patrick Cantlay, you need to sign those autographs. I saw Jordan Spieth out there yesterday signing. That's just what Jordan does. It's what Bryson DeChambeau does whenever he's on either tour, Live Golf, or wherever. So certain guys, they seem to do that. I'd like to see Patrick Cantlay and Colin, for whatever reason, these guys, they've maybe it's a chip in the shoulder. I don't know why. Maybe because they haven't won in a while. I think that could be it, right? They just haven't won in a while. Again, Rory, when he lost to the U.S. Open last year at Pinehurst, he got the hell out of Dodge. He wasn't sticking around either. So it's not, I don't want to just keep bashing on Patrick and Colin, but I love those picks this week because for iron play, and this does feel like a golf course where, not that it takes driver out, but you have got to have, this is definitely an approach golf course, and who's better than Scotty Scheffler, Kyle Morikawa, and to a degree, Patrick Cantlay. Those guys should be laser locked in with those irons this week. So I love those plays. I have 0 outrights for the first time in a long time. You know what Matt Humans always says? I used to be the kind of like the Friday night guy. I like to hop in tournaments a little bit later on. The reason why, Jensen, I didn't make any outrights, and if I was to do one, it would be the short shot. You know I don't like to do that. So Scotty at plus 360, if you heard him in that soundbite we played as well, if you noticed another thing, he's not sick. Remember this time last week at Augusta when he's all, he's got the sinuses going. And if you've ever golfed with sinuses, I don't care how great, it's hard to be the best version of yourself. And he said it took him till the weekend till he started feeling like himself again out there in the course. That sounded to me like Scotty is back. So my fear, Jensen, is those other ones, if you don't have Scotty in your card this week, we could all be playing for second place. Like it feels like a Scotty Scheffler revenge week without Rory in the field.
It won't surprise me. I do think that you look at these numbers, and if you ever wanted to play kind of the winner without markets, right? We've talked about that before. I believe that you were getting rid of Scheffler, Schauffele.
Ooh.
I'm going to look it up here. Morikawa. I think there was 4. Because I played a few of those markets on DraftKings.
I like that,
and I think that's the way to go as well.
See, if you're getting rid of Scheffler and Morikawa to begin that card, I'd take some chances at some longer shots as well. Right now, we got a summer special going on here at VSiN. It's not going to last forever. Right now, it's going to cover you through August 1st for just $59 when you go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Everything you need each and every day to help you be a better. America's team, you're on the clock next here at VSiN by the Books.
Tuned in to VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN by the Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. Going to have Mike Palm join us in studio in the next segment for a couple segments. Always great to have Mike in here on a Thursday. We were talking during the break here, and we were talking about the RBC Heritage. It's getting ready to get underway, and I believe we've just gotten underway. Bud Cauley out there, even par through 1. I think Nick Taylor already right now 1 under through 1. So they're just teeing off down there. You mentioned to me, what are those dates again for the Ryder Cup? September
26th through the 28th. Yep.
Okay, look. There's nobody who loves it more than me. I get so jacked up for it. We get jacked up as a country for it. But you are fighting that football weekend of college football and the NFL, right? The elephants in the room there. Could we make a case as co-commissioners to Jay Monahan and say, hey, Jay, why don't we move the Ryder Cup to late August? Like you moved the PGA Championship and it's working out.
Yeah.
Could we not move the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, and you don't have to go too far here. I think that, let's see. So the BMW is August 14th to the 17th. Tour Championship, August 21st to the 24th. That could be an executive order.
Day one, right?
On day one. We could do that, absolutely. And you know how we have week 0 in college football? And perhaps the Ryder Cup is the week before week 0.
Oh my goodness.
Just so it's free and clear. You're in the dog days for baseball. So, it's a nice little lull and build up. So yeah, I think that's a day. I'm happy to sign that. If that comes to my desk in a Lewis Ross administration, I'm signing that day one.
Day one executive order. We're gonna make that an EO. Let's get that done. Because that, and by the way, we're $1.45 betting favorites right now over the Euros. The Euros have the cup. If you remember what happened a couple years ago in Italy, was not pretty. How about here in good old US of A, as we look back to our draft and get ready for next Thursday in Green Bay? What is America going to do at 12? Who's America? Mm-hmm. It's the Dallas Cowboys, right? I know it's been 29 years, Jensen Lewis, since the Cowboys have been in the ultimate winner's circle. But you're getting Super Dak Prescott back. Brian Schottenheimer is walking through that door, replacing Big Mike, Mike McCarthy's gone. And Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, they're still running this organization. I wonder, we talk about this a lot here, Jensen. When you're betting overs, right now it's even money 7.5. I will tell you, I do have one play. We'll get to that before this is over. But you're betting on a coach and a quarterback. Can we bet on a healthy Dak Prescott? And by the way, Cooper Rush is gone. So your security blanket, he gone. You're depending on good health, and Dak Prescott, to be 2 years ago, was the second, he came up runner-up for MVP of the league. I think people have forgotten that. What do you make of Brian? What do you make of this draft pick? And what do you make of that three-headed monster that is Jerry, Steven, and now Brian Schottenheimer calling the shots?
All right, so we have 3 picks in the top 75, and just knowing where the needs are, of course, wide receiver is going to be up there. I don't think, Dave, you or Cowboy Nation would be really upset if you got either Ted McMillan or if you got Matthew Golden.
No.
I think you're just looking for a complementary piece there and an impact piece to CeeDee Lamb on the other side. You have another hard part already figured out with Jake Ferguson there as your tight end. Kevontae Turpin's fine. Jalen Tolbert's fine. Complementary pieces. Just you need someone else who can get to the flashiness and the deep threats as CeeDee Lamb. Javonte Williams doesn't do anything for me. Miles Sanders doesn't do anything for me. But hey, this is a passing league. This is what you're going to do. Joe Milton now as a backup will be intriguing if indeed Dak goes down with another injury early. Man. But let's face it, it's going to be about what do you get done with Micah Parsons, because then it changes the whole landscape, right? It changes exactly the thing that has really put them in peril, and it will in the division, Dave, when you have the offenses like Philadelphia and Washington, and we believe that the Giants will be improved on offense with quarterbacks of Russell Wilson and or Jameis Winston. So you now have to find a way to be able to limit opposing offenses. And that's why you see the draft needs in the secondary, in that linebacker room. I know that a lot has been made of Ted McMillan at 12, but I think the draft for the Cowboys really starts here in the second round. I've seen a couple of mocks, and this is why I bring up the running back room. Travion Henderson. Okay, we've known that your Dallas Cowboys have done quite well with Ohio State Buckeyes, Ezekiel Elliott. Is Travion Henderson in the second round a captivating pick for you in Big D?
I do think they need an upgrade from Juggernaut Javonte. Those days feel like they're long past him from Denver. We'll find out if Miles Sanders has got anything left. Deuce Vaughn hasn't exactly worked out. I know he was a low-round pick anyway, so I don't know if you're expecting something out of Deuce. They got to upgrade that room a little bit. I will tell you where I am pleasantly surprised, because we know that Zach Martin has retired. We know that Tyron Smith is going to be doing a ceremonial, one-day re-signing with the Cowboys so he can retire as a Cowboy. I believe those guys are going to Canton, Ohio. And those were draft picks of the Steven Jerry Jones era. They've done a pretty good job quietly of turning over that offensive line with first-round picks and high picks in Tyler Guyton and Tyler Smith. Cooper Beebe, I think, is going to be doing just fine at center. We'll figure out Brock Hoffman at right guard and Robert Jones. It's really Terrence Steele at the right tackle position that gives me a little bit of concern. Why? Because you can protect for Dak on that left side. I like the left side of that offensive line. That right side, you got to make sure he can see that blind side, and we always talk about that here. So Terrence Steele is going to have to step up, or they've got to do something there at right tackle. Again, if you can get another guy to go opposite CeeDee Lamb, I do think that's where they ultimately will go. And I think that Golden would be really hard to pass as a Texas guy there. I do think that does play into that equation a little bit for the Cowboys at 12. Defensively, you're never going to get mad at – I'm not going to get mad at you, Jerry and Steven, if you draft another edge rusher to go alongside Micah Parsons, because we know now Tank Lawrence, he's in Seattle as well. So I think you can make a case if they're smart. And I'll go back a decade here, Jensen, where they wanted to run up the name of Johnny Manziel to the podium. And they didn't. And they stopped themselves, and they ran up Zach Martin, who, again, is going to be going to Canton, Ohio. So I know we kid a lot about the Cowboys, and they should. When you haven't won in 29 years, you should. And by the way, 14 teams have not won a Super Bowl in 20 or more years, if at all. So you see the balance of power in the NFL, it's been top heavy. There have been a lot of have-nots, and the Cowboys are now in that group of have-nots for 29 years. So I think Golden, if he's there at 12, would probably be the first guy or wide receiver if the run has not begun there. But again, I won't get mad at them if they go O-line or D-line, because actually the history of those picks have borne out to be pretty darn good for the Cowboys.
So again, if you're going defensively on the line there, Michael Williams, who we talked about, and potentially Jalen Walker, seeing what Carolina does up there in the top 10 of the draft. The quarterback or the cornerback room, yep. I should say, if Will Johnson out of Michigan may be around right there, Jahdae Barron from Texas, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher there from Texas A&M. Like there's a handful of guys that you would believe would be open to that. If they stay in offense, can you envision Ted McMillan going in the top 10? Can you envision someone up there? Like if Carolina does not go Jalen Walker at 8 and they do want to give Bryce Young another weapon on the outside, is Ted McMillan a top 10 wide receiver in your mind?
It feels like a stretch that he would be gone before the Cowboys draft at 12. To me, that feels like you might be stretching a little bit. But if he is gone, then that question comes down to, do you take the theoretical second best guy at wide receiver at 12 versus if he could go D-line, still potentially there, and still get one of those top guys? I'd prefer they did that, unless they really have their heart set on this is the wide receiver we want to go opposite CeeDee Lamb. Then I can understand that. I will mention this, too, because we know, obviously, Odigizua, they went ahead and redid his deal in the offseason. I think that's a really smart move for the Cowboys defensively. With Overshawn gone again, with another knee injury that's going to keep him out for all of this year. Look, 11 and 13, they were dynamic playmakers. You only have 11 in Micah Parsons. 13 is going to be out for the rest of the year. Again, I know that they did go ahead and get a guy that can fill the middle in Kenneth Murray Jr. at linebacker. He's more of a plotting run stopper. I wouldn't mind if we get a little bit more speed on the outside as well. I will tell you this, Jensen, very quickly. I did bet a slightly adjusted win total over 8.5 at plus $1.50. If you want it, it's the first ticket I made on the Cowboys. I've not bet the division prop at all. And I did not bet this last year. I advised everybody on the under. I do think this is still a 9-win football team. As long as Dak Prescott gets help on the right side to keep him upright, I will be looking to that over 7.5. Don't have that yet at plus money, but I do have plus $1.50 over 8.5 wins for the Cowboys to be above 500 this year. What do you make of that play?
Dude, over 7.5 is even money right now at DraftKings. Do you want to hammer it?
I have to. I wouldn't be a good American if I did not. Check out sharpplays.com if you haven't done so. Real bettors go there all the time. Most of the betting world, we know it's a lot of noise. These guys are going to be very transparent. So, again, since 2011, they've been locked in with real pros. And what they bet normally moves some numbers out there as well. So don't take my word for it. Check it out, sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, and feared. That's sharpplays.com. Mike Palm in studio next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue VSiN By The Books on this Thursday edition. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. Each and every Thursday, we are always honored to have Mike Palm, the Director of Operations here at Circa, to join us in studio. Mike does so again on this Thursday, and I noted second week in a row, no coffee for you.
No, it's been a whole 40 days
it's all
almost.
Easter. It's almost Easter. Yeah.
So you got
Lent.
It's Holy Thursday now, Dave. We're about to, we're into the Triduum, and we're all wrapped up. Technically, Lent ends today. Technically,
yes. So could you have the coffee tomorrow?
I could, but I won't. I will fast tomorrow for Good Friday.
Attaboy.
A complete fast.
I should know all this stuff, Jensen. I don't. We were talking a little bit about the obviously, we're breaking down the draft here until we get to next Thursday in Green Bay, Mike. So we're going to break down each and every team. Jensen and I started this on Monday, so we've already gotten through 12 teams now with the Cowboys drafting at 12. We talk a lot about Vegas, and this is not their favorite time of the year. Obviously, setting these numbers, they're going to be up for a limited time. Can you just explain to the people that have never bet the draft before, that might come out here, and then Thursday they're going to come to this beautiful establishment and go, hey, why can't I bet the draft?
Well, the rules vary state by state, but in Nevada, you have to take it down 24 hours before it starts. So we have to pull it down on Wednesday, late Wednesday afternoon, actually, which we don't mind. I mean, we have this meeting every year, Derek, Jeff, Benson, Chris Bennett, and I, about what are we going to do for the draft. And you throw out the options. And I mean, the option that's always there is we don't book it, which really is not reasonable because it is an amenity to your players. We have never won on the draft. It's a loss leader. We opened in 2019, but June. So 2020 on. So we're 0 for 5 in the draft. The thing is, can we keep it to a minimal loss? Because we don't have the information. The information is always out there, as you well know. I mean, the information on Nix was out there. It was very reliable information. Oh,
yes, it was.
From the people who were drafting him. And I mean, the biggest loser for us, that was only our second biggest loser last year, was Bowers coming to the Raiders.
Wow.
So, we can't win. So what do you want to do? Do you want to offer a bunch of options and not take a bet and say you can only bet $100? Or do you want to offer few options and take a bet? But what's a bet? We're certainly not going to take 1,000. Blah, blah, blah. And, so what we ended up with is they're going to post between 12 and 15 guys, just an over-under, and that's it. Very simple board. That's it. Take a halfway decent bet for draft standards. But now in other states, you can leave the draft up there right till it starts.
Yep.
So every state has their own rules about the draft.
Mikey, it's just amazing. And I was telling Dave, headed into next week, just checking the different books, not only locally there for you guys, but, here in Ohio, just so many different things available to us. The one other thing I was going to ask you, and Dave and I have surmised it a bit too, how soon after the draft completes will you get with Jeff and everyone to adjust win totals? Because I know that's where a lot of people may look to try and leverage, how those certain events happen. How quickly will you guys adjust those?
Rather quickly. We'll take them down during the draft and then repost probably next Monday, the Monday following, because it is the most significant thing in the NFL offseason to win totals is the draft, and then you readjust and then let the money take the numbers where you're going to go. And then we'll up the limits as well, obviously. After the draft is over, we feel more comfortable with our number and then go forward. But, yeah, people can expect to, within 72 hours, bet into it again.
If you go back not that long ago, I remember, obviously, as a Cowboy backer, seeing what the Eagles did with A.J. Brown. They made that draft day trade. Remember that? To get him out of Tennessee. How did you see a vital shift in the betting market after something as significant as not a drafted player, but a draft day acquisition? And obviously, a couple years later, they win the Super Bowl.
It can be just as influential, and maybe more so because it's an established player. The draft is a lot of projects, right? And it's a lot of guys with, you've drafted Anthony Richardson. What can you do with a win total? Well, you really have no idea.
Right.
What's his ceiling? What's his floor? Are these guys going to get significant time? Now, with some of the picks, they might be starting right away. So then you have to judge your power rating on the player and how he fits into the team. But that's a good point, Dave. It's often the acquisition of veterans that move the market more than anything on draft day.
Mikey, speaking of acquisitions, I know I had acquired a stake in one of the great betting opportunities that you spoke of on our show last week. Old Matt McCarty.
Oh,
I'm telling you, man, we got done with our show that day, and it was great. Like, oh, this is awesome. This kid's going to be able to get in. What a great experience, an opportunity to play. And Dave and I were texting all day Thursday and all day Friday. I'm like, I can't even believe I jumped in at 250 to 1. I couldn't even believe it was alive into the weekend, much less I wake up in Oxford, Mississippi on Sunday where I couldn't bet anything unless I was inside a casino. And I'm looking like, holy crap, I can't even hedge, but this is amazing that it even had legs for a placement market. What was the sweat like for you guys initially, those first 48 hours and then into the weekend?
Well, I thought it was fun, and it would have been more fun if it was 8 million, right? But 2 million was enough of a sweat to have fun. But think about 775 to 1. And then he closes Thursday and reopens, and it varies widely, right, where he reopened. I mean, we had him at 175 to 1. I think the market was mostly at 225 to 1 after one day. And then going into Saturday, You know, we had him at 50 to 1. He was probably 75 to 1 consensus in the market. But even midday Saturday, I saw him on those that offer the live betting hole to hole and shot to shot. He was as low as 25 to 1
Unbelievable.
At one point. So think of didn't you get a nice sweat for your money? You had some fun. I mean you're not betting life-changing money, although if you win it might affect you a little bit. I thought it was fun. Yeah. We almost had just as big a sweat on Justin Rose from the other perspective of needing him to win, because of how many people where we have these yes-no markets, the two-way markets, we're pounding him not to win, and then he gives us a ride all the way into the playoff there. That would have been almost a 7-figure victory for us, because people were betting. Wow. How about he's the leader, and going into Saturday, you had a lay 18 to 1 when we opened the number Friday night. You had a lay 18 to 1 on the no on Justin Rose, your tournament leader after 36
Unreal.
holes. And they bet 100,000 to win 5,000. We move it to 19 to 100,000, 95,000, and then again 100,000 to win 5,000. So essentially 300,000 to win 15,000 on no, just pounding no on Justin Rose, because the players behind him were so so legitimate and had favoritism.
He sticks the green in the first playoff hole before Rory's approach. He could have easily won that golf
It
tournament.
was such a swing for us. We had such a sweat. On the positive side, McCarty out of the way on Rose. But we made a small winner to Roy. DeChambeau would have been the bad result of anybody that was alive into the weekend.
That's fascinating to me. So people were just, and I get it. We kept thinking, wow, can Rosie hold up? And I said here in the program last Friday after his great opening round, 7 under, 7-shot lead over Rory. Obviously, we didn't know that that's the way it would play out. I said I thought he'd be around just because of that veteran nature at 44. He's got a really good track record, 5 first-round leads there. That's fascinating that people still just did not believe that the old man could get it done.
Huge stand against him, which, from the data, you would say, I would have said 18 to 1 is really too steep a price to lay, right? I wouldn't be interested in laying that at all, maybe half that number, but they were there on it, and in the end, they got there with Rory.
With this kind of, I don't want to say lull in the sporting season, we're waiting for the NFL draft, but, obviously we're inundated with baseball each and every day, the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs getting ready to start. Now you transition from Augusta to the RBC Heritage this week, the tartan jacket they're playing for. Is there any carryover effect at the book, or do the laymen go away for a little while until maybe the PGA Championship next month?
No, if you put this tartan, in sometime in July or whatever, this would not. It does have a little bit of a carryover effect, and people, especially the Master, almost never fails to deliver, right? I mean, it's the Masters, right? So people have a renewed interest in golf. So that helps with the Heritage, that people keep that over. So its placing obviously benefits from it, right?
Yeah.
It's like the show that with Kadeem Hardison that came on after the Cosby Show, right? I mean, do you think they benefited from it?
You put anything behind the Cosby Show.
Whole New World or something. I don't know what it was. Different world. Different world. There you go.
Mikey, I know your Cy Young bet's in pocket. We've talked a lot about it. Did you tell me that you have either a Chris Bassett or a Tyler Malley in pocket? I couldn't remember if you did or not.
No, I do not. Although I've always been a big Malley guy. I have been. I can't bet Bassett because whether the roof is open or closed, remember this? And the brake on his slider when the roof is closed. And I did a whole piece on that last year. He was so upset that the roof was closed. He couldn't get out of the second inning. I can't bet him. I watched him pitch yesterday.
He pitched great.
Yeah, him and Strider. There were a lot of nice pitching performances yesterday, actually. But he pitched very well. So, but no, there's certain things people say at some point in life that I can never bet them. Like, I'll never win a Lamar Jackson for MVP. I'll never make that bet because after the second time he got COVID, he had to read about it. He had to find out what was going on. Can't do it. I can't pull the trigger on these people.
I'm the same way, Jensen. There's certain athletes in these award markets I just can't get around. Can't wrap my head around. Bassett 100 to 1, though. That is an interesting ticket if you have it right now because he shoved again yesterday. By the way, Palms Pressing 3 is coming up next. So I know Jensen's ready. You should be ready as well if you're watching and listening out there. Also, horse racing fans, we got you covered here at VSiN. It's VSiN at the Track, our newest show here, the road to the Kentucky Derby. It's live tomorrow, every Friday, leading up to the Triple Crown. So you're going to have key Derby prep races this weekend. Going to break down the top contenders for this year's Run to the Roses. Our experts, Mike Somich, Aaron Halterman, they're going to be starting tomorrow, 2:10 p.m. Eastern, on the VSiN YouTube channel at VSiN Live for expert analysis and insights. Do not miss it. It's VSiN at the Track tomorrow, streaming live at 2:10 p.m. Eastern.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here. Jensen Lewis. You find out things about people, Jensen, you just didn't know, even during commercial breaks. But right now, I think you're going to learn a little bit more about Mike Palm and what he has today in Palm's Pressing 3.
Pressing? Yes, I say it's pressing.
This is Palm's Pressing 3.
My mother told me never to answer a question with a question.
Sir, my client has answered every question asked by this committee with the utmost sincerity.
All right, here's the softball as we always start. Jensen, for years we've heard the narrative, almost to the point of exhaustion, that pitching at Coors Field in Colorado is a nightmare for pitchers due to the elevation and the way the ball carries in the thin air. I know I had a huge ticket on Ryu a few years ago to win the Cy Young, and if not for 2 starts where he gave up 7 earned runs each at Coors, I'm certain he would have won. But, interestingly, over the last 5 seasons, Coors Field ranks only 9th in total home runs among the 30 Major League Baseball parks. As someone who's actually been on the mound there, Jensen, do you think that this reputation is overblown? Is the Coors Field curse more psychological than physical, or are there other overlooked factors like park dimensions, ball movement, and altitude recovery that truly make it a uniquely challenging place to pitch? Or is it what we all know to be true, that 95% of Major League Baseball pitchers are just soft and go fetal anytime they face true adversity?
I'd feel very good that I'm in the minority and that 5% as mentally tough as they get. All right, so I think I got my baptism into the thin air and the way the ball travels. Our first year in Goodyear, Mikey, in spring training, when we moved from Winter Haven, Florida, out to Arizona, and the dryness and also just the lack of humidity where the ball was traveling a lot more. And that was our first baptism into the grip and not being able to, get the revolutions and impart that force to get our breaking balls to do what we wanted to do. And again, just being up there, I know even pitching like in Colorado Springs in AAA, I mean, you're another 1,000 feet up there, okay, than you are in Denver. And that is just where breaking balls go to die. So fortunately, I was fastball changeup. I didn't have to ever really worry about that. But it is a true thing, man. And it's just like going to Fenway Park when you see the Green Monster for the first time. Like you try, maybe overcompensate to try and stay inside on right-handers because all they got to do is hit a pop-up. And I would say the same thing about Yankee Stadium, both old and new. It's there. You stand out there. You're like, God, I mean, how do I keep anyone from hitting a pop fly out of here? So there's definitely a mind part of it that you have to overcome.
Rockies are off today. They will begin a homestand tomorrow with the Nationals coming in town. Mackenzie Gore on the bump. So I don't know if you consider him an ace or a fake ace.
Oh, he is an ace.
He's an ace.
No fake ace there.
So we'll figure out if he can pitch at Coors Field tomorrow.
Jensen's got a big ticket on him. Most strikeouts, everything. Anyhow, okay. Question 2. Let's switch to hockey, but apply it to baseball, Jensen. Last night, the Dallas Stars lost their 7th consecutive game as they head into the Stanley Cup playoffs to face the Colorado Avalanche in the first round. But more importantly, they lost star forward Jason Robertson to injury. In a meaningless game, Pete DeBoer started his normal lineup, including fake ace netminder Jake Ottinger, who was tagged for 5 goals before being pulled in favor of backup Casey DeSmith. The Avs, on the other hand, once their playoff seed was known, rested their top players the last 10 days. We see the same conundrum in Major League Baseball when teams clinch in early or mid-September. How should you balance the risk of injury and wanting to be fresh versus wanting to stay sharp heading into the playoffs, Jensen?
Yeah, first and foremost, I took the unders for saves on both goaltenders last night and also had Dallas in a parlay there because I just thought, oh, you know what? They'll score and then they'll pull everyone and we'll just kind of send the puck in. Thanks a lot for nothing, Dallas. So I'm actually with you, Mikey, on a couple of things. Having gone through it, I think from a baseball standpoint, the perfect time to clinch is with about a week left because it's that perfect amount of time where you can get your starters, at least position player guys, those scheduled days off or pull them earlier in games. For pitching, you kind of want to have that little, all right, these games don't mean as much. but I might be able to work on a couple of things. And so you're not going to get stretched out. Like starters are going to get pulled a little bit earlier, unless you're going for contract incentives. That's the one caveat I give in certain spots. And I was part of that, where end of the season in Chicago, very last day here, Mike, I had a sub-3 ERA headed into my first year of arbitration. Tim Belcher, who was our pitching coach, came up to me when we were playing catch, and he goes, I just happened to check the stats last night. Saw you have a 2.97. Barring anything unforeseen, you're not pitching today. Shook my hand and said, congratulations on a great year. So that all being said, to bring it back to the hockey, how in the hell you run your guys out there for longer than maybe a first period or maybe into a second, just to kind of keep that stamina or kind of keep that tempo, that cadence, that conditioning? I'll never understand it. I really won't. You have backups for a reason. Those guys want to play. They want to get out there and prove it. No understanding of why that happened last night. That series will begin on Saturday in Dallas. And right now, though, the Avs in the series pricing, $1.40 to the way of Colorado here. You can get plus money on the Stars at plus $1.20.
Think about that. They required the best roster in hockey at the trade deadline and have home ice advantage. You're a dog at home. They gave up a 3-goal lead with a minute to go to Vancouver and have never recovered mentally from that.
Nope.
But they were giving up 45 shots a game in the 2 weeks before that. I mean, the defense had been awful. All right, let's close with a baseball question, Jensen. I state this with almost certainty that the Pirates and Twins fan bases have already thrown in the towel 2+ weeks into the year. Now let's defend them. I'm not condemning them. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. How about the Bucco Bricks? Are you following that story?
No.
Starting in 1999, when they were building PNC Park, they came up with this program where you can buy a commemorative brick, the fans, for either $75 or $150, depending on the size, and then write a message in mortality, like for a family member. Could be a deceased parents, could be your children. And these bricks would be lined up, and they would sit at the entrance to PNC Park.
Cool.
Great
idea.
They sold about 10,000 bricks, they said. Okay? The fans come this year, the bricks are gone. The bricks are gone. The Pirates say, well, they'd gotten chipped. We had to find a new place for them because they were coming to a safety hazard. And then last week, a fan sees them at a recycling facility.
I did see that.
They also removed the Roberto Clemente sign and replaced it with an alcohol distributor.
That's the one.
I mean, and the product, they have the worst statistics offensively in every category in baseball. You know who's second worst in every category? The Minnesota Twins. All right, we've talked at length about the Minnesota. How about Bodelli and his long statement about how he loves being aggressive on the base path? Don't think about stealing a base, just do it. Oh, yeah? Is that why you rank in the bottom 5 in stolen bases all 6 years you've been the manager? Joe Ryan pitched Monday night, home game against the Mets, 10,200 in attendance. The lowest until they opened in 2010 Target Field. That's the lowest attendance in a non-COVID year ever. And the Twins put up 3 hits for the 10,000. Listen, summer in Minnesota is way too short to waste your time or money on a bad product. That being said, Jensen, how will the lack of support now for the rest of this long summer and even spring into summer affect the play of these two teams?
Makes a huge difference, Mikey. It's a great question. By the way, you can get the Twins at 120-1 for worst record in the big leagues, in case you want to jump on that. Pirates are at 28-1. All right, so I've played plenty of times in Tropicana Field, where you might have 3,000. I've played plenty of times in Oakland where you might have had 3,000. You just don't get the adrenaline rush. Like you go from, we used to open on the West Coast where we'd go to Seattle and it'd be 40,000. And then we go to Oakland and there's 3,000. And it definitely plays with it. You just don't have that motivation to get up. And so it usually benefits the home team. But I feel terrible for Brandon, our producer, a huge Minnesota Twin fan, because, Rocco Baldelli has had so many times you're like, what are you doing? And now that they have that ownership, influx, black cloud hanging over them, until they get that figured out, this is where they're going to be. So going to be a long summer or a short summer, as you say, Mike. You're so right on that. 2 months to get out to a rooftop season and then pack it in and get ready for Vikings.
I don't feel sorry for Brandon at all. They took 2 of 3 from my Mets. How did that happen? How did they beat the Mets 2 out of 3?
I'm really thinking, the Braves are still plus 135 to miss the playoffs. If the Braves don't sweep the Twins, I think I'm making the bet.
Right?
The Braves have to sweep the Twins now. Going in
We're
there.
almost to the give up on the Braves time of the year. Are we not?
Close. It's getting close. But I mean, the Twins, they got this little leaguer playing second base they had for the first 2 weeks of the year. Jensen, the pitchers have made 6 throwing errors. The pitchers have made 6 throwing errors in 20 games or whatever they played this year. It's unbelievable, the product.
We don't do ratings for segments, but this is why it's one of the highest rated segments that we do here in the show. Mike, you're the best. We appreciate you coming in
guys.
each and every Thursday. If you want to start your day, you should download the VSiN Watch app if you have not done so already. It's so simple to do. All you have to do is head to VSiN.com/subscribe, sign up today, watch all your shows on your time with the VSiN Watch app. Come on back, talking puck neck with Rachel Dory.